Hello teachers, this is TEACHERNICA, and if you are new to my channel, please do not forget to click the subscribe button and the bell button to get notified of my previous and future videos. And if you are still my subscriber, it's my pleasure to have you once again in my vlog. And as promised with my previous vlog, I'm going to share to you the different English proficiency level of our students or even our own proficiency level. So, without further ado, let's begin with our today's video. Okay, so why we need to learn or understand our students' level of proficiency is that the students usually want to learn or identify their proficiency level for some reasons, such as their IELTS. For their IELTS speaking tests, they need to identify or they need to be analyzed when it comes to their English proficiency. And as for us, we need to be identified also on how fluent we are as a teacher. So it is important for us to know also our own level. Now, let's start with the first English proficiency level. We have here A1 English, or the beginner or elementary level. This corresponds to basic users of English, those who can understand and use familiar everyday expressions and very basic phrases. So as for this one, this is very common for kids, those who are at the beginner stage, those kids that are first in hand when it comes to English. They don't have any idea on what is English, but they already know the familiar words, expressions, and phrases used when talking in English. Now, if you are going to handle this kind of students, you must be able to speak slowly, at a very slow pace, because your students are having difficulty when you teach in a very fast pace. So they will not, let's say, they could not actually meet with your, let's say, how fast you are. They could not cope up with it. So make sure that you speak slow with your students on this one, and as much as possible, you need to highlight the correct pronunciation a little bit slower, because again, they are beginner and they are in elementary level. So therefore, when you are teaching this kind of students, you need to start with the basics. Okay, they knew the, let's say, the everyday expressions and the basic phrases, but still need a little bit improvement on it. So they don't have the fluency to when it comes to difficult vocabularies. So when you're explaining a new word for them, try to make it slow and provide a, let's say, a realistic example. For example, you have, let's say, you're talking about going for a walk. That phrase, going for a walk, let's say they knew already what is walk, but going for or going to walk, that phrase, they don't know how to use it. Now, give an example first, and then afterwards provide them another example, another phrase that is also related to walking or related to an activity, and let them make that sentence, but little by little. Okay, now after that, that is the beginner level. Okay, A1 English, beginner level. Now for A2 English, these are what we called pre-intermediate. Again, A2 English, the pre-intermediate. This level corresponds to those users who can understand basic expressions and communicate in a simple manner. So they could talk and interact with other people, but only in simple words and phrases. Okay? It's a little bit higher to the beginner level because they could interact actually. They could make a conversation. They just don't stay at the reading section, but they could make a sentence. They knew what words they should use, though they still have grammatical, let's say, improvement that needed to be focused on. So if you are going to teach this kind of students or this level of students, you need to focus on their grammar. Again, they could converse, or let's say communicate in a simple manner, but still need a guidance, okay, because they're not the same with our level as teachers, and they only knew a few phrases, which is a little bit higher to the beginner, but still need guidance, proper guidance on how they should use those phrases that they already knew. Now, as for our next level, we have here the B1 English. This is the third level, which is what we call the intermediate level. Most of the students that fall on B1 English intermediate are those who are, let's say, high school students and adults. A1 and A2, mostly this is very common for kids students, and there are still some students who are actually excels to other peers. They are B1. Those kids are, let's say, they practice English every day in a week, or let's say they are very fluent because of their family, because of their parents, so that's why they are in B1. But B1 is actually very common for those who are high school students, college students, and let's say also let's say professional adults that are not very fluent, but they could actually communicate well compared to beginner levels. So, for B1 English or the intermediate, this corresponds to users who can understand and produce text on familiar topics and give opinions and descriptions. They could describe their idea and they could give opinion. That's why I said that it is on the level of a high school student and college student, and even the working professional adults, because they could already give their own opinion regarding a situation, or let's say a scenario shown in a picture. You could ask them what they think about it, what's their opinion about it, and could they describe the picture. They could already do that because they are in a B1 intermediate level. Now, if you're going to teach for this level, I guess you need, or well, probably not a guess, but you should, okay, you should speak a little bit faster, because if you talk too slow on B1 intermediate, it's like you are kidifying the lesson already, because B1 English or intermediate students are already able to, let's say, go also, they could already cope up with your pace, so they could already, let's say, talk fast. Also, they could also listen to a conversation in a little bit faster pace compared to the beginner ones. So if you're going to talk with a B1 intermediate level student, do not kidify the lesson. Like, word for word, you're going to repeat and repeat the words of a sentence. So do not do that. It's okay to let the student, let's say, express their idea, and then afterwards you could correct the mispronounced word or the misused vocabulary, because most of the time that's their only concern: the mispronounced, the misused vocabulary, and the grammar. Okay, that's the only reason that they are in that class. But it's not about learning basic vocabularies, but learning difficult vocabularies. Okay, so that's their goal. Now, let's proceed to a little bit higher, the fourth level, which is B2 English or the upper intermediate. This is upper to the intermediate level because this learners corresponds to users who can produce clear, detailed text and interact with a degree of fluency and spontaneity. Now, for B2 English levels or the upper intermediate, most of this are our levels. Most of this one are the teachers. Those teachers who are, let's say, a high school graduate and already an ESL teacher. So it is your second language. English is your second language, and you were able to communicate well. So that means that you are in B2. You're in upper intermediate. As a teacher, you are already qualified to teach. Let's say as an online ESL teacher, you are already qualified to teach English if you falls into B2 English level, which is an upper intermediate. It's a good level already for you to teach, because you could explain in detail the text and interact with fluency and spontaneity. You could talk spontaneously to a conversation, you can talk freely and express your ideas freely compared to the other levels. So for B2, these are common for those who continuously practice English. Like for example, you have a student who is Chinese or Japanese or any other Asian countries or any um let's say consider English as a foreign language. So they falls on B2 because they stays in New York, they stay in, let's say, Western countries. They could speak fluently in English. They just want to improve more and continuously practice the words that they knew. They want to just have conversation with someone new for them. So those are the B2 intermediate students, upper intermediate students. They already knew the language. They are, let's say, they are very fluent with regards to that one, but they're just looking forward on having someone to talk with just to enhance and maintain their skills in English. So if you're going to handle this kind of students, I advise that you make the class just comfortable, make it friendly, okay, make the environment friendly and be approachable to the student, just that, because you don't need to constantly correct the student. They are not that student that you need to constantly correct. Though there are some instances that you still need to correct a few of their words, but not the whole grammar or let's say the whole sentence that they say, because they are already good at it. Okay, they are already good at it, and they have already the fluency. They just want to have someone to talk with. And teachers usually fall also on this level. Let's say it's your second language, so common for teachers to fall on this level. English teachers usually fall on B2, which is the upper intermediate. Now, let's have here the higher level of proficiency, which is C1 English, the advanced. Okay, as for the advanced, this corresponds to the users who can express themselves fluently and spontaneously. They can use the language flexibly and effectively for all purposes. Now, the difference between B2 and C1 is that B2, they could freely express their ideas, they are fluent, they could talk spontaneously, but C1 actually is very flexible. They could talk or they could speak in English in a various situation. They could speak English for a purpose of business, for the purpose of just a chat. So they knew already the difference between that. They have this, let's say, you could already identify with in terms of the way they speak and the way they use the words. Okay, C1, actually, you know that the student already falls on C1 if they are, let's say, professors. There's professors who just want to have someone to talk with, or those who are or those who have their own business, and those who already talks with a lot of people. They knew which word they should use for business relation, and they knew what words to use when it's an informal conversation. So that's the difference between B2 and C1. So if you're going to handle this one, which is very impossible, the advanced, because let's say in my whole 4 years of teaching, I think I only handled an advanced level for twice. Yeah, for at least twice or three. Yeah, three times, I think. Yeah, not that or this type of level is not that common in an ESL class, because if it's an online class, most of the students wants to learn. There are very few who wants to enter and book a class just because they want to know other people. So if you fall into an advanced level and you're a teacher who is in B2 level, make sure to choose your words carefully, because they are an advanced level. They knew if you made a mistake, so be careful on that. They knew if you made a mistake or not. Actually, C levels, or the advanced levels, are actually for those native speakers. Their first language is English. But there are instances also that those who use English as second language could also be in advanced level. Now, as for C2, or our last, the highest English proficiency level, which is C2 English, which is proficient. This one is actually the highest English level, proficiency level. We call it proficient because it corresponds to the proficient users of English who can understand and express virtually everything with ease and differentiate finer shades of meaning. So, when we say proficient, they could actually explain what's on their mind. They could already express their ideas in a correct way, or in correct vocabulary, correct sentence, grammar, etc., in an ease, at ease, because they have no problem in mispronunciation. It's like just talking casually, or as if they are just talking with their first language. So if it's C2, it's like talking using the mother tongue, using your mother tongue. So that's C2. You're using your first language. So if you are using your first language, so of course you already knew a lot about it. So therefore you fall on C2, proficient. But remember, there are still some native speakers that doesn't have any idea when it comes to the correct English words and the correct English grammar. That's why we have English rules, English grammatical rules. Cannot say that once you're a native speaker of this language, you already know a lot about it. Because even with my mother tongue, I also have words that I don't know about. So it's the same thing with English. Those native English speakers doesn't know some of the other English words. So C2 is a very difficult level. So if this thing, it is very totally 0% of possibility to have a student at this level, because they don't need a teacher anymore. They don't need your guidance anymore. So probably if you, let's say, out of 0%, you luckily had 0.1% of having a chance on having, let's say, this type of student, well, I advise you to be careful on what to choose when it comes to the words, the grammar, because maybe even you're the teacher, it would be, let's say, switched. You will become the student and the student will be the teacher if they are in that level. Well, we are all done with the English proficiency levels. We have A1, A2 for the beginner, and we have B1 and B2 for intermediate, and C1 and C2 for advanced. So those are our English proficiency level. So if you would like to know more, I'm going to put the informations down below our description box, and you will see there the link wherein it is about the, let's say, the link is based on British Council, because I actually personally, I choose this website in identifying the type or the level of my students, because I think it's, let's say, it is reliable. For me, I think it's reliable and it's on point when it comes to the idea what exactly is this levels, which is I am looking for, or this is the level of my student. I want to know about this. This link exactly explains these words that I am saying right now about on this blog. So if you would prefer to read the article, or let's say read the website, their blog, you can check it out down the link of our description box. Well, I guess that's it. Again, as an advice, if you're going to handle your student from different levels of English, it is way better. Or let's say if you're having an online class as an ESL teacher, it is important for you to identify the English proficiency level of your student, because they are seeking for your guidance, and if you knew their English proficiency level, you knew exactly what to do on their level. You knew exactly how you will handle those levels. Okay? Well, that's it for today. Thank you very much. And if you are new again to my channel, please do not forget to click the subscribe button and the bell button to get notified of my previous and future videos. And for those who are already my subscriber, thank you very much again, and see you in my next vlog. Have a good day. Bye.